expect to go right over the fiscal cliff. Republican Senator John Hoeven of North Dakota joins me now. Senator, welcome back to the show. It's always good to see you. Let's start by talking about whether it's even possible at this late date to get some kind of thoroughgoing resolution of this issue. Can it be done?
I think it is, but we've got to be working on it full time. And I think the president needs to be here talking to members of Congress and working out a big deal, meaning tax reform, entitlement reform, and better spending control. This is what the American people want, and we should all be working on it full time.
Well, let's talk about what the president's doing. Today he was meeting with small business owners. Tomorrow, meeting with middle-class families. Friday, he's leaving town and going to Pennsylvania to visit a small company. What do you think about that? I mean, you were saying he should be focused full time. This kind of schedule would seem to indicate his attention is elsewhere.
What I mean is meeting with members of Congress, meeting with leadership of the House, leadership of the Senate. We've got a lot of ideas on how to do this. Let's get together. Let's get consensus. Let's get it going, and let's get a big deal now. So he should be here talking to Congress, getting it done.
What are your areas of agreement that you think are already established?
We've said, look, we feel there needs to be pro-growth tax reform. We've got to get into entitlement reform to solve the problem. We've got to have better spending control, and we've put revenue on the table. We've said, hey, look, close the loopholes. We can get revenue, even though the real revenue comes from economic growth. That's why it's so important that we get pro-growth tax reform as well as better spending control and entitlement reform.
Well, what would you be willing to compromise on? To you, what are the issues where you have some kind of flexibility?
Well, when we say that we'll put revenue on the table, starting out closing loopholes, that's a huge step right there. Now, the president needs to tell us what he's willing to do in terms of entitlement reform, because you can't solve the problem without better spending control, finding savings, and real entitlement reform, as well as the tax reform. We're reaching out when we say close the loopholes, putting revenue on the table. Now he needs to come back and tell us what he's willing to do.
Well, I think he wants the income tax rates to change, less concerned about the deductions and the loopholes. Is there any way you can come to agreement on that?
But think about that. We've said by closing loopholes, by limiting deductions, we will provide more revenue, and the real revenue is going to come from economic growth. So we've got to do pro-growth tax reform where we stimulate investment, business investment, and getting people back to work. And the real revenue growth comes from a growing economy. So you don't want to kill economic growth and end up with less revenue. Again, we are reaching out, we're providing the revenue, but doing it in a way that gets people back to work and generates revenue from growth.
I got to tell you, what I hear mostly are people who are continuing to pitch their own position and not movement to the center. And the thing that amazes me, and I'm sure it amazes the American people, there's not even another meeting scheduled yet. How is that possible? We are days from the deadline.
Gerri, we should be meeting every day, and we are putting revenue on the table. That's a big step. The administration's got to engage with us now.
Well, Senator Hoeven, thanks for coming on tonight. We appreciate it. We hope you'll come back as these negotiations continue, and hopefully you'll be able to find some kind of resolution. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.